All right, on our next step sampler, another stitch that's super fun to do is the woven spider webs. So there are two ways that I like to do these. I'm going to demonstrate both ways, and they both have very different aesthetics. So one of the things to keep in mind when you're doing these is you want to have an odd number of spokes. What I like to do as I'm laying down my foundation for these is to go from the outside of a spoke to the inside of that spoke. And I want all of my stitches now to just kind of meet in the center. So outside to inside. Each of these has 5 spokes. You can do more. You can even do 3 if you want. It'll be much different aesthetic if you do 3. They don't have to be super evenly spaced. These ones are not. All right, so I'm going into the center for each one. Now for the purposes of this tutorial, I'm going to do a different color for the weaving. So I'm going to secure this in the back, and then I'm going to do a different color. So for this first way of doing spider web, we're always going to start, or a woven circle. We're always going to start in the center, or as close to the center as possible. So I like to come up with whatever I'm using for my weaving thread between 2 spokes as close to the center as possible. You can use the same color for the entire thing. I'm using a different color to weave just so it's easier to see, but you can definitely use the same color if you like that aesthetic better. When you're weaving, you are alternating between going over and under warp threads. And so these spokes are your warp threads for the purposes of this little weaving. You're not going to pierce the fabric again until you're finished. So we're just going to weave over and under these little spokes. And so what I mean by that, I came up right here. I'm going to go over this first spoke here, and then I'm going to go under the second one. And then I'm going to, I like to turn my whole piece. I'm going to go over the third and under the fourth. And then I'm going to go over the fifth. And I had gone under, I'd gone over the first one. And so this time I'm going under. And because we have an odd number of spokes, this allows us just to keep going around and go over, under, and you are doing the right thing to get your weaving to look like weaving. So as you can see, I was able to do 3 in 1. So I went, or 4 in 1 actually, I went over this spoke, under this spoke, over this spoke, and now under this spoke. And then I can just tug it. You can tug as snugly as you want. What this looks like when it's finished is almost like a flower. So look at the weaving coming into being. Then I'm going to go over, under, just like that. I'm going to turn my piece. And now this one I had gone under, so I'm going over, under. You can change colors whenever you want. I've done some where I've done one color just for the center and then another color for the outside, and it looks like a flower. Very pretty. As you start getting farther out on your piece, you don't want to pull as snugly because you want everything to lay in a circle around the previous round of weaving. So you see how I'm not pulling as much, and my strands of weaving are getting a lot longer. I want to continue with the circle, so I want to go nice and slow. So you just keep going until you can go all the way to the outer edge if you want. I always like to leave a little bit. It's up to you. It's your weaving. So just keep going until you feel like you're done. And then when you are done, you can just go, I'm going to go one more. So I just went under, I'm going to go over this one, and then I'm going to be finished. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pierce the fabric right next to that, the spoke that it's right next to. And then I'm going to bring my thread down, and I'm going to tie my knot here on the back, just like that. So that is the first way to do one of these little woven pieces. Now, the next one is going to look more like a spider web. For the second spider web technique, we're starting the exact same way, where we are going to make our spoke stitches. Again, I like to go from outside to the inside on all of them. And then we're going to take our weaving thread and we're going to come up between two spokes as close to the center as we can. So just exactly the same as we did to start our other one. For this one, what we're going to do is we're going to go under the first spoke and the second spoke. And then we're going to go back around that second spoke. So we're going to wrap that second spoke and go around that one and the third spoke. Do you see how I wrapped it around there? And then we're going to go around, wrap back around that third spoke and under that one and the fourth one. Just like that. And we're going to keep on doing that where we're wrapping around the current spoke. We're wrapping completely around that with our thread, and we're going underneath the one we just wrapped and then underneath the next one. And so this one looks more like a spider web, because we're wrapping. It's really nice to do this with one color, because when you do it with two colors like this, your center is going to be the spoke color, but everything else is going to be the wrapped color, which is really pretty. But if you do it all one color, then it really looks very spider webby, I think. So you're going around like that. And again, I like to turn my whole piece as I do this, because I find it easier to weave with my weaving kind of on top of where I'm working. So just like that, and wrapping around that one, feeding through, pivoting, wrapping around that one, feeding through. And so what you're going to get is a really texture heavy spider web where all the spokes are wrapped, and you're going to have a base along the fabric of that color that sits kind of flat on the fabric. So you're always scooping around. Don't pull too tight. Again, you want your you don't want everything to kind of wrap on top of itself. You want to kind of fill in your spokes by doing this. Look at how pretty that looks, right? It's so fun. Oh, you know what else? It looks kind of like a starfish, I think. But yeah, that's a really fun texture to do.